Hi everybody, we're here to tell you a little bit about dip powder. We're gonna talk through the steps of how to do a dip powder manicure and then some of the supplies that you need. We know we have a bunch of new people that have joined our Rocky Mountain Dip Powder page, and we wanted to give you some insight into how it all works. Okay, so this is for removal. You have the Soak Off. This you can buy at Walmart. And this one has the coconut oil in it and it works really well. We can go through the steps of soaking off on another video, but we just wanted to give you an idea of what products you need. Blue Cross Cuticle Remover works really well to help prep your cuticles. You can use a cuticle, a metal cuticle stick. You can also use a wooden one if you happen to have a wooden cuticle stick, that will work too. And then after you've done that, you want to go and wash your hands all with Dawn dishwashing soap. The scrubber helps just get into all the areas and clean it all off and make sure your nails are all dry and ready to go. And then some supplies you'll need to while we're using is a buff block. They have the purple ones at a bunch of stores. There's some orange ones. Medium fine is good. You don't want it to be too rough. You can use a regular file. I have an 80-100 file and a glass file. We'll talk about what the glass file works for later. And then some brushes to help you brush off the excess powder when we're doing the dip. Some people are bothered by the liquid smell, and so you can just pick up one of these masks or even one of the ones from Home Depot or any of those kind of throwaway ones. Then we'll need some liquids. We'll talk through the liquids of which kind you have. Triple Vitamin is the ones that I use, and they have there's 5 steps actually. The last one is a brush restore, but I don't ever use that one. The Keratin Bond is a base, so you could put that on first and it would help prep your nails, but I don't find that that's absolutely necessary if you follow the other prep steps. You do absolutely need the base coat, the activator, and the top coat. Those can be ordered off of Triple Vitamin's website, or you can order them on Amazon. I haven't had any trouble with the ones I've ordered on Amazon, but they're not technically through Triple Vitamin, so you have to kind of decide which way you feel more comfortable with. Gelish is another brand you can order from Amazon. Same deal. The prep one is just to get your nails ready. You put it on, it's a little like rubbing alcohol, and it just dries right up. It's not a necessity. Base coat, activator, and I don't have the top coat, but you would also buy the top coat, so the 3 steps. And then the one that might just be easiest for you to try out if you're looking to just get started would be the Sally's ASP one. You can buy this at Sally's Beauty Supply, and what you do is you buy step 2, and then you buy step 3, which is the activator, and step 2 you use twice. You use it as step 1 and step 3. So I know they're numbered weird, and so maybe if you get confused by that, you can just write on your bottle, this is 1 and this is 3, and activator is in between. And once we go through the steps, you'll see how easy those 3 steps work together. You'll of course want your dip powder color, which you can get from Rocky Mountain Dip Powder. And then I like to have a jar of clear, so that you can, if you use the glitter, it's always good for a topper. And we'll talk through that when we do, we're gonna do one of Holly's nails and show you all the steps on it. First thing, you have your powder, and you're gonna just mix it up just a little bit just to make everything nice and even and smooth and ready to dip into. We're gonna do the Triple Vitamin one today just because that's the one that I use, but again, like I said, Sally's is a good option for starting out because it's probably someplace you have nearby you can just go grab. The prices on these would be, the Sally's is going to cost you $10 a bottle, so you would need this one and the activator, so $20 to start. Most of the rest of them are going to be anywhere between $8 and $10, and you would want to do the 3. But keep in mind with this one, you would go through it twice as fast because you're going to use it 2 times. Top coat for the starter, and I'm going to let Holly do her own nails while we talk through what she's doing. And so you're just going to do it. We're looking for, I'm going to actually let Holly talk just a little bit about what we're going to do real quick for this.
So I have already prepped, like we already said. I've already used the cuticle remover with my stick. You want to be really careful on those invisible cuticle lines right up here at your line to make sure, because Otherwise, you'll have nails that start to lift up. After I did that, I went and used my Blue Dawn with my scrub brush to make sure there was no remaining residue. And it's all completely dry and I'm ready to start. If you're a person that has oily nails, you can go ahead and go back to your blue onyx and do a quick swipe to make sure it's all ready to go. So I'm just gonna start on this one. You wanna make sure on your first layer that you don't go all the way to your cuticle line. So I do about 3/4. And you can feel free to go nice and slow, however you need to. Nice, thin, smooth layers. And then sometimes people want to pick it up and dip. Sometimes you just want to go down. Depends on how long your nails are. But you just completely submerge it in there and then just kind of tap off the extra. So if you're doing a whole hand at once, it gives this one adequate time to dry before you go ahead and wipe off the extra. So I'm just going to pause for just a minute because I'm only doing one. Then you would take your duster brush and just dust off the extras. You can give it, like here, I didn't go all the way to the edge, so I can fix that on the next coat. Then you're ready to do your second layer. Second layer, I go a little more like 3/4. And of course, I'm doing it opposite, so I'm showing you the absolute hard way. I'm a very right-handed person, and I'm shaky using my left hand to dip my right. Go ahead and dip it again, get your big extra off. And like I said, I just have to wait a minute. Typically speaking, you would just go ahead and do the second layer on all fingers. So you do the first layer on all fingers, wipe off. Do the second layer on all fingers, wipe off. Since I'm just doing one, I have to just pause just a moment. Okay. So then I'm ready to do my last coat of my dip. Typically always do 3 coats. If you're working with a sparkle, you'll want to do a 3/4 brush and then an all the way, and then do your final one as clear so that you have a layer that you can buff at the end. So this one you just want to come as close as you can to your cuticle line. If you're like me when you're doing your opposite hand and you get a little bit shaky, I'll show you how to fix that up. So this one, and then I go, oh man, I got a little bit on there. So you just get your fine point orange stick, and before it dries, just kind of go around your cuticle line, wipe it on your paper towel, just to make sure that you don't have any of that base layer stuck on your nail. And I kind of did a little boo-boo there. If you ever, like I'm working with glitter, if you pat down as it's almost dry, it'll help you get rid of any lumpy bumpies if you accidentally hit your jar or tapped it in the wrong spot with your cuticle brush. So now I have all 3 layers on.
And when you're done, go ahead and close up your jar just to get it out of the way so you don't accidentally knock it over. Both jars, I've done both, so go ahead and get those out of the way. Step 2, activator.
So activator, I think, is the best part of what you're doing. Kind of just makes it all stick. Go ahead and do a liberal application for your first round of this. So even if you, and this one, you feel free, paint it on your cuticles. You can be as sloppy as you want. It doesn't really matter. Then you wait. So I would have done it on all fingers again and waited. The different types of liquids have different times for how long you wait once you put the activator on.
So I typically wait 2 minutes after the first application of the activator. and I just set a timer on my phone for 2 minutes because that's just the easiest way for me to do it. While you're waiting the 2 minutes to do it, you can make sure you get your stuff out of the way. We'll talk just a second about glitter. If you use a glitter and you've put it on your nail like this, and you have glitter on, what Holly was saying was if you take your last step once you put all of your other colors on and you have a clear, you would just take that and then dip it in the clear. It's not going to mess anything up, it's just going to coat it in a clear. And when you're done, when you put the activator on, it'll all still smooth out like this, but it just makes it protected so that when you use your file or anything or buff over it, sometimes on a glitter you can make the glitter turn silver, and then it discolors your glitter and you did all that hard work and you had this nice pretty glitter, and then it has some silver flakes in it because you've buffed off some of the glitter color. So I really like to recommend clear underneath. Also, the triple vitamin liquids tend to be just a little bit thinner, so you see how it's kind of really thin application. This one's a little thicker because I have a clear on top. If you think it's too thin for what you do every day and you want to make sure that you have a little bit of a thicker layer to work with, just some more sturdiness, these are nice and hard, they really are, they don't bend. But if you want another one, you could start with a dip of clear and then move on to your 3 dips of color and then go ahead and go. So if you did a glitter, clear, 2 glitters, back to clear. And then that way you'll have 4 dips on your nails and it will just help make them just a little bit sturdier. And they won't be super thick. This one has 4 and it's not super thick. Okay, so Holly's probably ready to do her buff part.
And I just was saying, you can tell the grow out on my other nails. I'm sitting about day 10 with my other nails. And with this, just however, it doesn't matter how you go, just make sure you get along your edges. You're just smoothing out anything. At the beginning, when you first start, you're probably going to do more buffing than once you're kind of used to everything, just because you may not be as smooth with your application of your liquids. So once you get a good deal of buffing, then you just feel around the edges to make sure you don't have any parts that you think you might start picking at. I'm a picker, so if you do, just get in there with your other file to make sure there's nothing that's gonna bug you later. Then we go back, same thing, gotta get all that dust powder off so our next layer is just good. Then we're gonna go ahead and put on our second layer of the activator. And again, with the activator, you don't have to be careful. That's great, it's kind of an in-between, take a breath and just get that activator on. And you still have to wait another 2 minutes.
So for
and if you have really long, that one is not very long because I broke it off, that's why I'm redoing it. But if you have long, you want to make sure that you get it on the end also.
And so for my second step of triple vitamin, everybody's different. Again, they all come with some set of directions that help you do the timing. But for my second one, I just wait 1 minute. And so once you wait 1 minute, then we'll do the top coat. And so that's this one. And so we'll do our top coat. And this top coat and the base coat, a lot of them are pretty much the same ingredients. So there are several of them that you can interchange the two between, and that's something you'll just kind of learn over time, that if something's, if you're in a pinch and you need to substitute something, a lot of them work the same ways, the one and the base and the top. And so once we've waited our minute, the reason we want to wait a whole minute is we want to make sure all of our activator is all dry, because what happens is if you use your activator, if you use your top coat on top of a nail that has activator that's still wet, your brush is going to get hard. And you don't want that to happen because then you can't use it. When your brush gets hard, if that happens to you, you can put it in acetone. Just fill the lid of the acetone, just soak it in there and do it till it's all loose again. Dry it off, leave it to dry, make sure it's all the way dry, and then you should be able to put it back in your liquids. But that's just if you accidentally don't wait long enough and it's not quite all the way dry. You can kind of touch it to feel, but just make sure that it's all the way dry. I've seen some people who go back over it with a rubbing alcohol, and it kind of helps dry it up. If that's the thing for you, you want to make sure you can use that step, but I don't find it necessary. All right, so then we're ready for our top coat because we've waited our minute. And so this time we're gonna put a quick swipe, just a couple of little swipes on it just for the first time. You're just gonna go over it really quick, and then you're gonna wait just a couple seconds, and then you're going to dry it. Holly's wiping off her brush, and there are a lot of companies that ask you to wipe off your brush in between steps. It helps keep your brush clean. If you noticed you've gotten some color on your brush, you want to go ahead and wipe it off. If you got glitter on your brush, go ahead and wipe it off on your paper towel to get rid of it from your brush so that you don't contaminate your liquids. Some of them like for you to wipe it off in between each step just to make sure that you don't contaminate them. It's really a matter of just reading through what they recommend on this stuff and following those directions on there. Okay, so now second coat of the top coat is just a nice coat that covers every area. You make sure you got all the sides, you make sure you topped it, you make sure you get everything on all the parts.
And you're trying to make sure to not get it any on your cuticle lines, because that will be where you start to lift, and that's where our glass file comes back into play. Once this all dries, if I do find that I got a little bit and I have a little bit of a rough edge, once your nail completely dries, you can come in with that glass file to do around the edges if you happen to maybe have gotten a little bit up on your cuticle line. Also, like this one where I smacked my nail and kind of a little chunk came out of it, that's where you go back in and use your glass file, because it doesn't take away all your shine.
And so Triple Vitamin has a little bit of slower drying time, and so on this one I like to wait a full 3 minutes. I absolutely just set my timer and don't move for 3 minutes and leave it alone, because this one takes just a little bit longer to dry. Gelish or the Sally's one probably take no more than 2 minutes to dry on the top. And so you just want to leave it alone, because if you were to touch it and you were to end up to check it and it wasn't all the way dry, you'd have a smudge spot, and then you would need to go back and rebuff, reactivate, and then retop coat. And so I don't want you to have to redo any steps. So just kind of wait the full 3 minutes for Triple Vitamin, because I think that's just the safest bet, at least for me. When you use your liquids, the top coat and the base coat, you want to make sure that you're not brushing off the top on your jar. There's a little catch inside that you can kind of brush off inside instead of on the top. And you also want to make sure, if you think you have any on the top of your jar, you can just take a paper towel and wipe it off like that so that it's clean, because this is like a glue. And so if you have it on the top and it does that and your bottle ends up sticking together, then it's going to be really hard for you to get that open and use it. And so once you've waited your 3 minutes to make sure that this is dry, or different timing, just depends on your liquids and stuff, you can see how nice and shiny it is, and it's all ready to go. And it's going to be really hard like this. You don't see how it doesn't bend, and so you're going to get a lot of protection for your nails. These are my regular nails, and yes, they're not that long because I've been doing a lot of work with them, but they are certainly way longer than they ever were before using any of this. And it does really add a layer of protection. Like Holly said, she banged her one nail and stuff, but she didn't break it, and she didn't hurt her hand as nearly as bad as she would have if she hadn't had the stuff on. So the final step that you can use is, once you're all done, it's nice to add just a little bit of cuticle cream. So the Burt's Bees cuticle cream works. You just take it, it's just a thing, you just kind of rub it on like this, just right around your cuticle. Or you can use a cuticle oil, and so lots of them come in a dropper. There's also a pen that you can take, and you can just rub that on and then just rub it in, and then that's really nice to just give your hands a little bit of refresher after you're done. So like we said, if you join the Rocky Mountain group page, there are always plenty of ladies that are willing to help with a question. If you give it a try and something doesn't work out for you the way you thought it was going to come out, you know, just put a post on there and say, you know, what did I do, or what could I do to fix something? Somebody's always willing to jump on there and say, you know, try this and try that. There's a little bit of a learning curve, but once you get it down, it's super easy. Thanks for joining us today. We hope you got all the tips that you need, and like I said, we'll post where you can buy the products in the comments, and then that way you can get a chance to go pick some of those up and give us a try. Rocky Mountain Dip Powder sells a whole bunch of great colors of dips and glitters, and we hope you give us a shot. And we have 3 different sizes. This is the half ounce, or the quarter ounce. There's a half ounce, and then this is a whole ounce. And you can see how even on the quarter, Holly's done like 3 out of this one so far, and it's still plenty left. So don't be afraid to buy in a smaller one if you just want to try something out. If it's a color you really love, you can go for the big one. Thanks for joining us.
Bye-bye.
Hi everybody, one more thing. When we were making our video, you know, you're kind of in the moment and you're just going along, and we noticed that we used the top coat as the base coat, which, like we talked about, sometimes they're interchangeable, and so if you used the top coat as the bottom, it still works. It's fine. You can use the base coat and then use the top coat. Like we said, Sally's is the same for each one, and so it's okay to kind of do that. It doesn't work quite as well if you use the base coat as a topper. It works better if you're gonna, you know, if you only have one to go with the top coat, but we did intend to use the base on the bottom, activator in the middle, top coat on the top. And so they'll work, but this is your best system to use the 3, unless you have Sally's, in which case you're going to use 1 and 3 like that. Thanks.